wildflowers bloom in the sun. Each morning at dawning, birdies sing and everything. A sun-kissed mist says, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second to last episode of the second season of Huell's Gold.
Yeah, number 24.
It's going by quick.
Yeah. This season flew by. Seemed like the first season took forever.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're already got the light at the end of the tunnel on this one.
That means we have to start thinking about our second episode between seasons.
Yeah.
Mystery episode?
Well, I don't think people liked not knowing what was coming up, so we'll let you know next week what we're going to do for our in-betweener. But, yeah, we got to make it good.
All right. But first, we'll make this episode good.
Yeah, it's not going to be too hard to do that because this was a surprisingly entertaining thing.
I know.
I thought, like, what's he going to do at this big old salty lake? But he found some ways to Huell it up.
And there's a nice mix of entertainment with the kids we get at the end.
Yeah.
A few of the people speaking it.
But it starts off a little different because there isn't, like, that cold open that normally starts these where Huell just is there and talking.
Yeah.
It's straight to just nice vista shots of the lake, and the title comes up and it doesn't move. It just is there.
It's very, the way I was thinking about it, it's ultra mellow.
Yeah. Which brings me to the other mellow aspect, which is the theme song this week, which a little reminiscent, didn't you think?
I think so.
Must have been Earth Day when they filmed this because Huell made sure to recycle the theme from the Blossom Trail just like a few weeks back.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I knew that's them. They're next to some blossoms.
There may be a dearth of, musicians in the Eastern Sierras. No, not really, huh?
Well, last week he was in the same area.
That's right, you're right.
And there was the harp playing
Where's she
ranger.
at?
She could just do a different, change keys and then just do it again. It still would have been cool.
Yep.
But we start off with some... Really, these are pretty cool shots. There's even a flyover shot. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Louis didn't do because it's completely different.
Hey.
No. I'm saying it looks worse than his work. This looks
nice save.
Yeah. This looks like a kind of standard definition police chase in Los Angeles helicopter shot, but still cool that they were able to get that and pop it in.
It is cool, no, for sure.
Yeah. But I guess we should just get right to it, and Huell can kind of give us the lowdown on why we're in Mono Lake. Hit it, Huell.
It's one of the oldest lakes in North America, over 700,000 years old. An ancient lake that's part of what used to be a huge ancient sea. It's a lake with no outlet. Its water is alkaline, 3 times saltier than the Pacific Ocean. And its landscape in places is like something from another planet. In fact, when seeing it for the first time, Mark Twain called it California's Dead Sea. Well, this isn't the Dead Sea. This is Mono Lake, located in the Eastern Sierra. And it's one of our state's true treasures. A treasure that over the past half-century has been disappearing. You see, back in 1941, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power built an aqueduct system to collect fresh water from the 4 mountain streams feeding water into the lake. And since then, the lake has dropped over 40 feet. Now, I'd always heard about Mono Lake, always wanted to see it firsthand. And finally, I got the opportunity. Ended up spending a week there being shown around by people who truly love the place. And as you'll discover with me, a visit to Mono Lake is truly an adventure you'll never forget.
All right.
Yep.
So the first bit that we get here is probably the most important ranger that we'll come across, or person who works for the Forest Service, and that is Ranger David Carle.
I'm going to go with Carly, and I'll tell you why. Because I have people in my family who have that L-E at the end of their name, and it's Lee.
It's Lee?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I've been saying it in my head. If you say Carl, because you're a big Carl Winslow fan, I get it.
Well, I was thinking the difference between Angel and Angle.
Okay. All right, whatever.
I'm going to go with that. You can French it up if you want.
I'm surprised you didn't go with like just a David Carr kind of reference. You're trying to throw that little Bakersfield connection.
Bakersfield royalty right there,
bat.
the Carr brothers.
Whatever. Before we get to him, though, in the clip, there was a little tidbit about the fact that Mono Lake has been sinking and is because L.A. County has been stealing the water. Mm-hmm. That is such a huge controversial topic in the history of California for 100 years. All the water movement and theft and intrigue and scandal and dynamite blasting dams down and all this crazy stuff. Huell just skims right over it. He's not an investigative, like, hard-hitting journalist. He's just telling us about the simple thing, the flies.
Well, he also lives in Los Angeles.
So he's benefiting from this. Okay,
right.
I gotcha. But after we get the little info session on the clip, yes, we're with David Carle.
We go to Carly. We'll go with Carly. We'll just call him Dave, Ranger Dave.
Okay.
He's a pretty prolific guy.
Yes.
When you look him up.
Yes.
Undergrad, well, that's not really being prolific, but just it's education.
It's prolific in life.
In life, yeah. Undergrad, UC Davis. Mm-hmm. Master's degree, Cal State Sacramento.
Yep.
Looks like he met his wife at UC Davis, which we'll also meet her later.
Sure will.
And he's the author of 9 books, 2 of which are fiction.
I didn't even I was doing all this research, too. I didn't see the fiction ones.
But there was something that you saw
yeah,
with an association with Kern County.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what's that?
So he was an associate professor at Saracoso Community College, Mammoth Lakes campus. And we have a Saracoso College, Lake Isabella, or Kern River Valley campus.
There's also Ridgecrest is where the main campus is, and then Indian Wells.
They're all over here.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I saw that, they didn't specify the campus, and I got all excited, like, oh, maybe this dude moved down south. He wanted to stay near the Sierras, but he wanted to go down to the southern base. Guess not.
Nah, he's a Eastern Sierra lifer.
Yeah. Which, can't blame him. This is a pretty cool spot. But Ranger Dave...
Well, we could talk a little bit more about him, though.
What else you got?
The places that he was a ranger for. So the Mendocino Coast, which is cool. Hearst Castle.
That's cool, yeah.
Very cool.
I just went there, and there was a ranger doing the tour.
Well, I would say Hearst Castle, for me personally, that's probably the coolest place. But he was also in just above Sacramento, the Auburn State Recreation Area.
Yeah, I guess comparatively, Hearst Castle is more flashy than that, but...
Right, a little bit.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
Well,
there's
I mean, that's
Indian,
not impressive.
The Indian Museum in Sacramento as well.
But all those books, though, like, I gotta say, I'm really into California water history and all this stuff all this stuff, I guess. Stuff on Bodie, too?
Yeah, he wrote on Bodie.
Do you think that Erlene from last week turned Huell on? Like, hey, dude, you got to go back down.
This is Sierra Dave.
It's really misleading, his part in this episode, because he really could have like really tore this mother open,
Right.
with all the information that he personally knows and has studied. But I guess Huell just, he keeps it simple and everything.
We were talking about him and his wife. Didn't
Yeah.
you notice a book they're co-authoring, or I forget what it's called.
Traveling the 38th parallel.
Yeah, the 30th parallel.
Where basically the 38th parallel, as they describe it in the Amazon description and stuff, it's this special parallel that runs along the Earth, obviously, and it's kind of this temperate hotspot where so many places along that line are incredibly suitable for agriculture, anything that humans like to do.
Right.
And the temperature is pretty moderate, and it's brought about so many kinds of cultural diversification and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, and I guess they traveled around the entire world on that parallel to kind of
Wait, but
figure it out.
What I'm getting from the cover of the book
Yeah.
is that this is a secret flat Earth image.
Well,
What do you think?
yeah. I didn't want to go there, but Dave and Janet went there.
Oh, I don't know.
That man.
Well, anyway, maybe not.
It doesn't say that in the description. I'm going to assume that's not what he was going for.
Especially because the subtitle is A Waterline Around the World.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Anyway, back to the episode, and what Dave has to offer in it is a lot of information about the lake, and especially the flies.
the fly. This, I like this. This is the most interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are other interesting things about the lake that Dave talks about, but the flies.
Yeah.
Flies that don't land on you.
Yeah. So I told you I've been here before when I was
That's right,
younger, and it was definitely the low point of this trip I was on. It was this, 395 Eastern Sierra road trip in the family RV. Super hot, super uncomfortable most of the time because the RV didn't have AC, so we're
cool.
toasty. And then we get to hot Mono Lake, and I think I said this last week or the week before. My mom had this weird like hippie throwback moment where she's like looking off into the lake and this kind of spaced out thing, and I'm just like, I want to go home already. And
Was she like the guy? I mean, we'll get to him, but in the canoe at the end?
yeah,
Okay.
that's a good comparison.
Okay.
But the flies rather, did land on me.
They did?
Yeah, not a lot. Not like, I mean, there are, as you would see in this episode, as Huell and Dave are walking along the coast, there are thousands of these things.
I'm not going to lie to you. When he has Louis zoom in,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if that was just low quality.
Oh, like just great, like scramblies.
Yeah.
No, there are lots of them. But one thing that I thought Dave was cool at was kind of breaking down the science of this lake in a really kind of simplistic way that obviously Huell can appreciate because he always tries to do that himself.
Right.
But just breaking down the food chain, that there's the flies and the fly larvae, and then the shrimp eat the flies, and then the birds eat the shrimp, and sometimes the flies. But
And did you hear Dave's rationale for why the flies don't land on humans very often?
what did he say?
He said, quote, "I think they think people are yucky." Quote.
So not very scientific. But
But he breaks it down.
this is probably the quickest Huell has spouted out an amazing. Did you hear it at 3:44 about the flies? When at first he's kind of freaked out about the flies, and then he realizes like he can just kind of walk leisurely along the coast and nothing's going to happen. This is amazing.
Did you notice what? So Huell said something else as well. He said they won't light on you at all.
I heard that and
hear
I
that?
thought I misheard it.
No, I read the subtitles or the caption.
What is that supposed to mean?
I'm going to adopt it. I don't know.
Oh, gosh, these flies keep lighting on me. Well, in Tennessee, are there... You've been to Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Are there fireflies there?
Oh yeah. The first one.
There you
I
go.
told you about the first
Yes.
one I saw,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
I was so excited to see fireflies, and our friends pick us up from the airport, take us back to the house. I open the door, and one almost hits me in the face.
Yeah.
That was the first one I saw.
Do you think that's where that comes from? Oh, the flies are lighting
yeah,
on me.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah,
In his world, flies light up. Not at Mono Lake.
but light on you anyway.
Yeah, it's still weird, but
It would be a lot cooler if the flies lit on you.
yeah, I guess.
Okay.
So during this little lake bank segment here is one of the funnier interactions where Huell almost gets a little spicy with someone. Do you see that?
Oh yeah,
with
that's
that
funny.
guy?
Look, I have get spicy-ish
Yeah.
on my notes.
So Huell tastes the salt water because at Dave's request to taste it.
Did you notice how he tasted it? Well, no, we'll talk about this after. So
Okay.
we'll hold that.
Yeah. So Huell tastes the salt water, and then you can't hear it because the mics are, they're up close to Dave and Huell, so you don't hear it. But off camera, someone, I guess, is giggling at Huell, and he just stops everything. What are you laughing at? And he goes and confronts this guy, and the guy's just,
You thought it wasn't salty.
Yeah.
Then it was.
Well, why don't you go taste, and I'll laugh at you. Whoa, Huell.
And they both tasted it the same way, which I don't know if this was the instructions. Did you notice Huell just sucked his finger?
No.
Yeah, so he kind of licks his fingers and says, "Oh, I can't really taste the salt." And then he pops it back in
Yep.
and just like he's dipping some cake batter.
Yep.
And then the other guy takes it, his index finger, just puts it right in his mouth.
Did you notice that afterward, the guy walks off wiping his hands on the butt of his shorts?
And then Huell turns around when he's out of earshot
Yeah.
and says, "Laugh at me."
Well, before that, he was all condescending because he's like, "Oh, hey, just want to say goodbye. It was nice to meet you." Laugh at me.
Oh, that's right.
Huell was PO'd at that guy. This guy also has, like, if there was a Halloween costume you would buy at Spirit Halloween store of tourist grandpa, like the most exaggerated tourist grandpa, that's him.
That's so true. Oh. Now, from flies, or Brian flies,
Yeah.
to soap suds. Mm-hmm. What's up with that?
Well, actually, it's funny because some of the chemicals that he was mentioning are chemicals that we use in pools a lot, like the sodium bicarb or the baking soda. Mm-hmm. That's what we use in pools a lot. Well, people do.
I use that in my fridge.
Yeah. Well, we use it to control the alkalinity level of the pool water. And a lot of times it happens more in spas because the water's frothing out. That's what causes those bubbles in spas a lot. Is the sodium bicarb, the baking soda, and then the salt kind of froth stuff up, and we have to deal with that sometimes too. But then he also talked, like, that kind of led into the other chemical reaction, which is the Tufa,
Yeah.
which is a chemical reaction of that same sodium bicarbonate that's in the water, the alkaline, that's why it's an alkaline lake, with the calcium coming from the underwater springs.
Yeah.
And that's what creates that calcified structure that is the tufa, which, if you ever seen Mono Lake, you see these structures. It looks like, well, like...
It kind of looks like the castle in The Little Mermaid.
yeah,
looks
kinda,
like that.
Yeah.
At least that's what I thought.
Yeah. But this is the same kind of stuff that happens in pools as well, and in showers too, like hard water stains.
What's the tallest what would you call
Tufa?
that little structure? Yeah, that you've seen, self-created structure.
Like at Mono Lake?
No, in someone's spa.
Well, it doesn't happen the same way. I was saying, like, on the tile line of
Okay.
a pool, it's the same thing, like hard water stains and showers and stuff. Like, that is that same kind of stuff.
No, I always use CLR.
Okay. Sure you do. Haven't been in your shower, but... but just imagine, like, that little bit of hard water stain,
Yeah.
that less than a millimeter, that happening in this, and that's how long it took. That's why these things are 1 million years old.
That's true. It's
There you
crazy.
go. Passage of time with science. So Dave is explaining this, basically what I was telling you, but in pool jargon. And he picks up a piece of tufa. And he's just walking around with it. And he's explaining. And then Huell just snatches it right out of his hand.
Yeah.
And just walks off with it. And then it's his from then on.
Well, then he says, "Oh, we might want to leave that here before they."
Well, and then because he like grabs it and he just walks away, and Dave kind of just like,
okay,
and then when Dave says, "Oh, better leave it here," Huell says, "Oh yeah, better leave my tufa." Bro, you snatched it.
Oh man!
And then like Dave kind of takes him over to his favorite little spot, supposedly like around the corner with bigger tufa, whatever. Huell can't stop touching these things.
No.
It's kind of the story of him and the tufa. Because, like, I get it. I think I did when I was a kid, and maybe I didn't out of protest. But I plan to go here again, like, really soon, like next month. And
Are you going to climb it?
no, Dave told me not to.
That's right.
Yeah, Dave said that the erosion of the tufa is more prevalent because people climb on them.
Well,
So don't climb on the tufa.
are you not allowed to, or is this just you discouraged from doing so?
I'm assuming it's not a law. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, this is way different, but I'd imagine in terms of being dangerous, they let you step on tide pools, which, holy moly.
Yeah, those are... It's like rock climbing on razor blades.
Yeah.
It's no good. But we'll see. I'll let you know when I go.
Okay.
So that kind of wraps us up with old Dave. And
Well, before we go,
what you got?
you notice that Huell was talking about, he was throwing out his knowledge of Tennessee caves.
I
He
heard
was
him say
talking
caves.
about-
What did he say? I need to start listening with these subtitles. You're getting more bang for the buck.
Well, Huell brings up stalactite, which is what hangs from
They hang tight.
hang tight from the
Yeah.
cave.
Uh-huh.
But then old Ranger Dave says, "Oh, you mean stalagmite?"
Yeah.
And then Ranger Dave launches into an explanation of how these two things are different. You notice Huell just walks away.
Yeah.
It was so.
So we'll be in a cave another day, Dave. We can't be doing this right now.
Nah, I'm good. Thanks, Dave.
So the next bit is going to take us to our first venture on a boat. Let's hear about that for a second.
Our Mono Lake adventure continues with a boat ride, courtesy of Larry Ford, a naturalist with the U.S. Forest Service, who took me out to the middle of the lake to Paoa Island, which is volcanic and only about 200 years old. It looked like something out of Planet of the Apes to me, pretty rugged terrain. Now, we were there to visit what's left of a goat ranch, which operated on the island from 1917 to 1921. Of course, no one lives on the island these days, and walking through the dilapidated, deserted buildings was kind of eerie. Look at this. Look what I found. A shoe.
So we're on an island. I didn't even know there was an island.
Had no idea.
What's
Apparently, it's
What's it called?
Paoa.
Okay. Yeah. So
Well, according to Huell, it's quote Planet of the Apes.
yeah, which it doesn't look anything like. Which Planet of the Apes is just Earth in the future. So what he's saying,
I thought
Huell.
that was so funny.
But he's meeting up with Larry Ford, a naturalist, who brings him out to the island on a boat. Which it's a relatively new island, which is weird. It's only 200 years old.
Yeah.
And it was a goat ranch, as you heard in the clip, which is also weird.
Only operated for 4 or 5 years.
And
It
how
was-
they get him out there. Like, why would they... They're going to have to bring him back.
Right.
I guess just to let him graze out there or whatever. But Huell's kind of just traipsing through the ruins of this old goat ranch hut, whatever it is. Look what I found. A shoe. Now that's an historic shoe. And he does that thing where he finds something, runs up to it, and like, look, Mom, my shoe.
Just grabs it off. Oh, man.
And then we're done.
Hey, what else does he pick up? Is that a can?
That's a tin can.
A tin can. So this is a historic tin can.
Almost as historic as the outhouse.
That's right.
And then that's it.
Man.
The shortest segment in the history of the show. It's like 1 minute and 20 seconds, and we're done. And then, where are we heading to now, Huell?
Now, once we left the island, Larry gave me an up-close and personal look at some of the estimated 4 trillion tiny little brine shrimp which call Mono Lake home.
So we're back in the boat. It seemed like we didn't need to differentiate between these, but it's Huell's show.
Right.
We're just here to do some research.
And he does some research on the brine shrimp, right?
That's one way to put it. So he's scooping. He's got what looks like an old yogurt can. You think he would just gotten the old tin can from the island, but I guess that was falling apart. So he's got this old white can, and he picks up some shrimp, dumps them in his hand, and what happens?
Well, I'll repeat the quote from Huell.
Yeah.
They're mating? In my hand?
Because Larry just threw that out there real nonchalantly. Oh, they're mating. Huh? And then he says, gosh, just my luck. It is the clearest shot in the show's history.
Yes.
Up to this point, too. The HSD shrimp getting low down schlanging on the Huell's hand. Oh, man.
Jeez. Oh.
So I think it should have ended there, but Huell then goes off to some underwater Tufa, which he wants to get out and touch. Of course, he touched the above water Tufa. Now he's got to touch the underwater Tufa, which he says has a crystal feel to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Are you going to go out on a boat and try to touch some underwater tufa?
Well, maybe if I meet up with who he meets up with next.
Old Janet?
Janet the Bird Lady, as Huell says, and then they throw her name up on a graphic that we find out that she is Janet Carle, husband to Dave Carle, which we assumed and then did research, and yes, they wrote the books together, very much married, legally and spiritually. I don't know.
Yeah.
Totes married. And yeah, she seems to be more on the biological end when it comes to the birds, which I guess, what would that be? Well, Dave is all about the flies, and she's got the birds.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
both biologists, both
Deal with things that fly.
Yeah. And she's got some interesting facts too, and she throws out facts that are good, solid numbers. Like Huell mentions the California gulls. 90% of all California gulls are born in Mono Lake. That's a good statistic right there.
Right.
Which is so interesting because that's one of those things that could just always be in your brain from now on. Like every time you're at the beach, I know where you're born. And then she kind of just throws out some, I don't want to downplay them, but kind of less interesting facts. The eared grebe, most numerous, 1 million a summer. Then they fly to Baja.
I'll tell you what I thought was most interesting.
Okay.
In terms of just concisely stating why Mono Lake, I'm sorry, is interesting. And she refers to it like a great big gas station for birds.
Well, first she mentions it being a soup bowl, right?
Yeah.
Which made more sense to me. And then the gas station, like, oh, I got to stop and fuel up, which she kind of throws out during her Fowler Row talk, which is the third bird she mentions, which doubles its weight from 1 ounce to 2 ounces.
Oof.
I think she thought Huell was going to give her more of a reaction than that, but he's just kind of just blankly staring at her. But then I guess it is interesting that they fly 2,000 miles to Bolivia from here.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
pretty
heck
crazy.
of a migration.
Well, this is fairly short too, right?
Yeah. Because, she kind of breaks down the birds. Unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a lot of birds there to be seen, but there's some.
Right.
But then we just click on over the creek.
And we meet Steve Holland,
Yes.
who to me, he first struck me as a surfer who got really into creeks.
Yeah. Like one day he just caught the killerest wave and rode it into a creek, and he's, what is this? The wave never ends. He's not even really like this. He's just like a simple guy. But, it's fun to imagine.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And Steve's not alone. He's with a bunch of junior rangers, as Huell puts it.
Which is always the source for great
Yeah.
commentary.
It's kind of a shame that the kids are too far out of camera shot to really get a good idea of what their graphic tees are, because there's a couple of them, but they didn't. Louis didn't get good shots of them. There's like a mom, like a field trip mom with a big old fanny pack, but everyone seems to be wearing fanny packs on these trips. Steve's kind of just breaking down that the creek hadn't been flowing in a few years, and it is now, and it's feeding into Mono Lake, which, as we know from earlier, was being sucked dry by Los Angeles's need for moisture in its dry, barren basin.
Need for moisture.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like that.
But the real reason that Huell seemed to want to visit him and the Junior Rangers is that they're going to go for a little dip. Seems like an all-boys dip.
It does seem that way, and it seems like an all skinny boys dip. Not skinny dip, skinny boys dip.
Yeah. It's all a bunch of little thin boys, except for, me as a kid on the left, on his left, our right. Because all the boys, have their swim trunks, shirts off. Set my little chubby homie right there. He kept the shirt on.
Did you notice that the redheaded kid that we'll see later?
Yeah,
He's
hiding himself.
his getup is occluded
Yes.
by the person in front of him.
But during this shot, we see a bunch of boys. Okay, cool. And then Louis pans over to the right a little bit, and we see this one sullen,
Just so sad.
single girl
So sad.
in this very bright bathing suit, but it does not match her personality, or at least her outlook on the day. 'Cause she is not thrilled.
She's over it.
But as soon as Huell says go, they're all running in. She runs in. She's into it.
And then we see that she's not the only girl.
She's not the only girl,
Yeah.
yes. And once they're in, we also get to see the full-fledged majesty of the redheaded kid, who's wearing a hot pink and black Bret Hart-esque Speedo. Full on, just a Speedo.
Just rocking it.
Yep.
Not even the intermediate stage where you go to Euro trunks.
Nope, not at all.
No.
It's almost bikini cut. And he almost like he felt like, oh man, the red light's on, and he runs out of frame really quick. But we knew it, dude. We saw it.
And then that's over fairly quick.
Yeah.
And then we go to your favorite bit. Well, one of them. Would you say it's your favorite? Definitely the most awkward.
That's my favorite part of it, because it's not the most informative, and really, it's not even the most aesthetically pleasing of shots, because it seems like they got there a little too early, like the sun's just up, they're in shadow, and
Yeah. We definitely see that Huell's paddling skills are not on display.
no,
Again, this is reminiscent to the episode,
boats.
the boats, yeah.
Yeah.
Just boats.
That's all it was. But basically, Huell's on a canoe with John Kane of the Mono Lake Committee, which is like a group of citizens trying to bring awareness to Mono Lake and its history. And this seems to be an ultimate passion of John.
Dude. To say the least, yeah.
Because Huell says, like, he understands that people might not think of this place as anything great because it's just a big salty lake. And John, he's pretty much the voice you hear for the rest of the episode, with long, awkward pauses in between.
And his posture in the canoe.
Yeah.
He's on his knees the entire time.
Yeah, he's got Huell and some other dude who never gets to talk in the back with a big old 10-gallon hat on, just rowing him around while he's kneeling in the canoe.
He's philosophizing.
Yeah, but you could tell it's all improv because he'll have a thought and then finish the thought.
The pauses, yeah, they're...
You think that they would cut these out, but it's almost it's weird because there's the shots are so far out you can't tell if this is a voiceover or what, because there's no microphones visible. Huell's paddling; he doesn't have a free hand to have a microphone, so they got to be lapelled up.
Well, let's just go to the zenith.
Yeah,
the best, most awkward part of this conversation. You want to just go there?
Yeah,
because that's the best part.
It sums it all up.
Yeah. So Huell is in the front of the boat after this guy goes on for a bit about how he wishes, or he can imagine it being 40 feet higher, and he
feels like he missed out. Ugh. I just feel like I missed out.
And then Huell, he responds, and he says, "You really get to feel what this place is about. It's special." That I'm paraphrasing, but basically that's what Huell says. And then this is the response. Yeah.
It's the longest pause. And then you can tell it's going to be the end of the show because they ramp up the splashing noise of the paddle, cut to black. That's it. Oh, man, Steve. Or John. Man. This is John.
Okay. That was good, though.
It was good. And then Huell kind of wraps it up in his go-to Season 2 way, which is starting off 100 feet out, walking towards the camera, ripping his sunglasses off, and telling you to come to the place, even though he says he'd never come. He tells you to go to a place.
This is a cool shot, though.
Yeah, it gets the best of the Tufa. Huell's got his dark denim shirt on.
Yeah, his navy and black it's a good look on him.
The black jeans, and he rips the sunglasses off. And what does he say about Mono Lake? What's his exact wording? Because
we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Are we seeing bits of California's gold, or are we still on our search for California's gold?
Yeah. What is California's gold exactly? Where is it? How do we kind of quantify it?
Mm-hmm.
What constitutes being California? Is it a person, place, thing, all of the above? Is it a feeling? We never know because Huell's his wording is always different. And this time, what does he say?
He says, if there was ever an example of California's gold, Mono Lake would be it.
Yeah. So it's an example of. That means it's...
Not exactly.
It's not...
It's representative of what would be considered California's gold.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I can't tell if that's the dumbest way to explain this or the smartest. Because he doesn't want to say for sure what it is. He doesn't want to pigeonhole himself.
Right.
He's just... I don't know if we're ever going to crack this, fully.
Maybe we will. Maybe season 7 or something.
Yeah. I know there's a few times ahead where he breaks it down pretty literally, but when comparing it with all the other ones, I don't know.
We'll just have to keep this in mind when we're going through it.
Yeah. But anyway,
That's it.
that's it.
That's Mono Lake.
That's Mono Lake. And they obviously didn't prep the intro and outro totally for this because it's another total recycle job. It's the same exact shots as the intro
Yeah.
with the same theme that they were recycling from Blossom Trail, just played again. Not mixed up, just copy paste. I'm not complaining.
No, maybe
It's good shots.
Yeah, maybe it needed to be rushed out or something.
Plus these, this is not what the meat and potatoes of a show is about.
Right. But it's pretty impressive when you could do a unique theme every week.
Yeah.
So.
And just a little hint, we're back to it next week. I already double checked.
Nice.
We're on it. In fact, let's just talk about where we're going next week because it's the season 2 finale.
All right.
And if there's one way that Huell knows how to get the people coming to the event is with a parade. And you gotta know that Huell is jumping right in the middle of that thing all the time. But it's basically a parade in Little Tokyo in downtown LA called the Nicey Parade. And it's a gem. Pure, simple, 24 karat California's gold.
Well, shoot. I'm excited.
Yeah. I guess we got to wrap this one up.
I guess we can also tell people that there was an updated version of this episode in the 100 series. Mm-hmm. It'd be episode 138.
Yeah, and those are those hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
And I've watched that one, and basically what he does is he shows the entirety of this episode, goes back, does a whole nother 22 minutes of fresh, clean Mono Lake stuff, which we'll get there. We'll talk about that one because that's years in the future.
Right.
In the Huell-averse of time that we're
The
having
Huell-averse?
to... Yeah.
I like that.
that we're having to navigate here because we're living in a different time. This is 1992. In fact, I had a little... I got lucky, and this episode first aired... First time I get to say this, that I have this information, December 10th, 1992.
How did you get that?
The interactive Huell-Hauser map. On Chapman's website, they have a link to an interactive map that shows you where Huell went on most of his adventures. They're not all on there, unfortunately, but in the corner, some of them have original air dates, and this was one that had it. Now, to be fair, I don't know how accurate this is, because next week's episode said the same date. So, I don't know. But we'll just, we take what we can get, because we were, 6 years old, 4 years old when this happened, so
Yeah.
we'll take what we can get. But we'll just have to see how next week goes. Flying by the seat of our pants. Let's get the heck out of Dodge. Right off into the sunset.
Let's do it.
I can't think of any more sayings. So come along with us next week as we continue our search together for Huell's Gold.
California, here I come, right back where I started from, where bowers of flowers bloom in the sun. Each morning at dawning, birdies sing and everything. A sun-kissed mist says, don't be late. That's why I can hardly wait. Open up that golden gate, California, here I come.
I can understand how some people may think that it's
not what they expected to see when they come to a lake. Most people expect to see something like Lake Tahoe with trees all around it. But Mono Lake is unique, and you have to look into its waters. You have to see the reflection of sunsets.
You have to feel what this place is all about. It's very special.
Yeah,